Well, how about that? Cristiano Ronaldo last night turning the world on fire by scoring one of the greatest goals that we've ever seen after an unbelievable opener, which is never going to get any credit now because the second goal was so amazing. But many of the back pages of the newspapers are asking, is this the greatest Champions League goal ever? I mean, it probably isn't, but it's pretty close.
It is very close. It would have been some moment had the referee actually ruled it out for a high foot or something like that. Just allowed it to happen, allowed the Juve fans to get to their feet, and it's like, actually, you know what, Allianz Stadium, I'm going to disappoint you all and the world indeed and tell you that it was actually a high foot. It was an unbelievable goal. I think 7 feet, 7 inches was the exact height his foot got to at one point. An unbelievable finish, and the fact that it goes past Gianluigi Buffon just kind of makes it that you rarely see him just completely flat-footed.
I'm surprised that people haven't been Buffon. He's not as good as he was when he was 30. I mean, he's 40 now. This is ridiculous. Juve, not that good. Game over. I'm waiting for the people to kind of piss on this somehow.
Well, you can absolutely piss on it by using that, by saying Buffon isn't what he once was. He showed signs of a little bit of a fading of form this season particularly. But let's not do that, because no goalkeeper in the world would have managed to reach that. Every goalkeeper, you would imagine, would have been flat-footed, bar maybe a David De Gea sort of player who's in the pomp of their career. It doesn't matter. Let's not talk about that.
There's no way David De Gea is getting near that. There just isn't. It's like, it's coming from the wrong side. You're looking at it going, yeah, good man Ronaldo, try that shit again. It's like, oh.
It's just stunned silence almost. It's Zidane's reaction, which is so beautifully bemused after this happens, and it's just completely wonderful. It's I don't know, I think just the way the years have gone by, I think everybody is just really chuffed for Cristiano Ronaldo when he does something like this. I really do think so.
It's true. It's so weird. It's like this preening peacock of a human being. It's like, yeah, good man, well done, you did this.
I'm not sure is that more representative of society or more representative of Cristiano Ronaldo that we've all come around to loving this guy. And let's not have the automatic discussion that always comes up.
No, let's ignore the other person.
But like, there is a discussion to be had about Ronaldo as an individual and the journey we've gone on as in terms of our opinion of him.
Well, the journey some people have gone on. I mean, a lot of people just thought, wow, that guy's pretty amazing. That guy's unbelievable. Jesus, he's still doing that. That's fantastic, as opposed to he's a spoofer. A lot of people didn't think at any point Ronaldo was either a show pony or a spoofer.
But maybe there's nothing wrong with being a show pony, is what Cristiano Ronaldo is proving here. Maybe some show ponies are the best horses in the world.
They grow into
Derby
winners.
A stallion, yeah, Derby winners, exactly. Yeah. It is certainly a great... I think he's the best example in sport to kids in terms of what they can actually become. The dedication to his craft.
Yeah.
It may be described as selfishness in some places. You need to have that.
The evolution of like, as everybody was pointing out last night, as a winger he would go out and, like Kev was saying on TV, you know, he played against him as a winger and he would go out and he'd beat you, he'd nutmeg you, dribble back around, do it again, taunt you a little bit, and there would be no specific end product really. Whereas now he's become the deadliest finisher. Potentially, I mean, Gerd Muller, but up there at that level, maybe even better than Gerd Muller.
Yeah, potentially, but also the fact that he is ultimately one of the greatest team players we've seen as well, because of A, what he brings as an individual to the team, but B, because of what he actually does for the team now as well. I mean, he's got 19 assists in the last 5 seasons in the Champions League, which granted is just this platform where Cristiano Ronaldo just loves to explode, and he's brilliant in that regard as he is when it comes to actually scoring goals. He's got it all, as we all know, but he's doing it on a level that we may never see again. We will never see again, especially in the Champions League.
No, exactly. Like, everybody should desperately try and get to... So here's the stat there about him. If he was a club, he'd be 10th on the all-time scoring list. It's ridiculous in the Champions League. But everybody should definitely try and get to a Clasico before these two finish, because it's like, yeah, I was at a Clasico when Ronaldo and Messi played against each other, and it meant something.
Yeah, it's the most important sporting event in the world right now in terms of kind of a sentimental viewpoint that you can take and know that it is a sentimental viewpoint and know that you will be chatting about this sporting event that you're at for years to come. Nothing comes close to El Clasico at the moment. You need to get there this season, you need to get there next season, and this could turn into, 2018 could turn into one of the most special years when it comes to the Ronaldo-Messi dichotomy, or it's not a duopoly, I should say. Dichotomy is Joe Malloy's favourite word when it comes to two like, when it comes to this kind of dual
Shots
force
fired. Just random shots fired at John Malloy there, right?
Whenever I say that word, it just pops up due to kind of complaints to offtheballbag@gmail.com or whatever it is. But when it comes to that,
offtheball.com.
at offtheball.com. But it could become the greatest year for this, because you've got the World Cup, you've got this unbelievable Champions League record now from Ronaldo, you've got this goal and this singular moment that people will look back on and say, we'll all remember via this bicycle kick. So it's got it all going for it. A World Cup win for Argentina could turn 2018 into the great year of the Messi-Ronaldo duo. And I'm sorry for bringing him up. It just kind of happened. I was saying let's not mention Messi's name once, and it just happened to come out there 5 times. It's impossible to talk about one without the other.
I know, not today. It's okay. I think the point you make about Ronaldo being this perfect example for kids is also, like, a lot of people will be like, no, he is too selfish, he is too vain. But actually, who cares? When you do this kind of stuff, it's sensational, and it's all proven to be worthwhile. All that vanity about, like, oh, I'm just going to make sure I spend that extra time in the gym making sure that I look perfect. It's like, well, it has also resulted in supreme athleticism at this stage of his career and experience, which allows him to, I am going to try an overhead bicycle kick against Buffon in Turin in the Champions League quarterfinals. Screw you. And it's going to go in.
Yeah.
Dermot Corrigan made the point on Twitter. It was like, oh, there's that overhead bicycle kick he's been trying for the last 5 years, finally coming off. It's like, well, practice makes perfect. Yeah,
there's pictures of him doing the very same bicycle kick in training just the day before the match. But you mentioned it there, is Ronaldo too selfish? Is he too vain? It's possible to say that he is very selfish and he is very vain without saying he's too much in either department.
He's like the sculptor who made the Ronaldo bust. I don't know if you saw Bleacher Report went back this week. It's a year on since the first one.
Yeah.
And the second one's perfect. It's like the first 5 or 6 overhead bicycle kicks, well, they don't hit the target. But number 6, bang, back to the net. If only the Bleacher Report dude, sculptor, had just given us the 6th one, we'd never know who he is. But actually, it's much better that we do know who he is, and that humankind is imperfect.
Yeah, Ronaldo and
a lesson and a journey for all of us.
Exactly. Another great example for kids out there. Look at the sculptor and look at his career path as well as Ronaldo's career path. And you will succeed in every facet of life if you follow the sculptor.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we don't want everybody to be...
Except in sculpting, obviously. He's a terrible sculptor.
Let's tell you what's coming up on the show. We've got a really good show for you today. Joey Carbery a little bit later on after 8 o'clock. We're going to talk to Graham Hunter about last night, about tonight. His big interview is with Jurgen Klopp, so obviously he's got a bit of insight ahead of the City-Liverpool game. Going to talk the Masters with one of our golf friends. Which of them in particular? Nathan. Nathan's going to join us this morning. I wonder will he be on Skype so you get to see his fuzzy new hair. We'll also talk boxing with Andy Lee, some big boxing stories. Canelo has pulled out / been banned for the rematch against Triple G, and it looks like it might be Spike O'Sullivan who gets that fight. We'll also talk about the Ryan Burnett fight last weekend, and we look forward to another fight this weekend of particular Irish interest. And on top of that, what else have we got for you? Yeah, Pep and Club, Cristiano Ronaldo, Joey Carbery, and some of the stuff from the Leinster press conference yesterday, where they were talking about what Tuesdays are like when Stuart Lancaster is looking at the video. Even after a win, they call it Tuesday.
I hope it's them that coined it and not Stuart Lancaster. I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday. It's a great one. They have so many great little quirky lines like that in rugby. I wonder, is it just a natural thing where they're sitting around in the dressing room, they're like, somebody just says Tuesday, and everybody looks at themselves and they're like, this is genius, let's run with this. There's a lot more of that, certainly, in rugby than other sports. No, I'm complimenting it. I think it's genius.
Are you? Okay.
If I'd come up with Tuesday, I would have it tattooed on my forehead as the guy who invented that word. So well done to whoever came up with
it. Let's bring in the newspapers.
OTB AM. In association with Air. Get Air Sport free with Air Broadband.
We have a Masters sweepstakes. You've got to pick 3 players whose total odds add up to 100. Who did you pick?
I haven't done it yet, but I'll probably have Alexander Noren in there somewhere. I haven't decided who the other 2 will be. Like, do you throw in Rory or Tiger as well as this? I would have thought maybe...
What's Noren at?
I actually don't know. If anybody does know, let me... I just would have thought Noren comes in at 20-something or 30-something to 1.
Yeah?
Maybe he's shorter odds again, but you'd imagine he is. Like, that's surely the way to do this sort of thing, is to pick a couple of 20-somethings, 30-somethings, maybe even 40-somethings to 1. Like Phil Mickelson, what's he at?
Pick an 80 and 2 10s. Just make sure the 80 makes the cut.
That's the thing, though. I mean, like
Alexander Noren about 40 to 1.
Around 40 to 1, yeah. Like, I'm having that, definitely. Like, I shouldn't be saying this out loud because we're actually putting actual finance into this thing.
It's a tenner.
His form is very, very good. His game suits Augusta, according to the one article that I read on Alexander Noren.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. You've done your research.
I've done research.
I like the heavy, might have been Wikipedia, but who cares?
If you read at least 400 words, regardless of what the source is, you've done your research, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So, Alexander Noren, suddenly my tip...
That's your journalism degree right there, kids.
We weren't actually...
Where did you go to college again?
The College of Wikipedia. So... If he wins it, we're playing back this clip next week.
Yeah, and, we are totally. Yeah.
Wikipedia can sponsor me, and maybe I'll get Wikipedia tattooed to my forehead instead of Tuesday. The back of the Times. Will you move on to the papers?
Yeah, let's do it.
The back of the Times is going with tonight's game between Liverpool and Manchester City. Be brave and attack City, urges Klopp. You've also got McIlroy ready to finish slam and tight calls for Leinster trio. That's regarding Robbie Henshaw, Sean O'Brien and Jack Conan, who were all set to be in contention for their Champions Cup semi-final. I mentioned City and Liverpool there. It is dominating the back pages this morning to build up to this huge game tonight. History Boys reads the back of the Irish Daily Mirror. Klopp says, go and make your own legacy. While you've also got that Leinster story here as well on the back of the Mirror. Robbie eyeing the semi-final. Robbie Henshaw set to be back from his shoulder injury. A 10-week layoff. So I guess we kind of expected it to be the case, but it's still probably going to be touch and go over the next few weeks. Klopp rallies depleted Reds, reads the back of the Herald this morning. Liverpool missing defensive trio for visit of Pep's top guns. While the back of the Irish Daily Star says, this is it. Jurgen Klopp has urged Liverpool to write themselves into the history books against Europe's best tonight. The back of the Sun then this morning says, a pain in the grass. Klopp fury over United City pitch snub. So Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp has got into a pitch battle with both Manchester clubs. He's angry that City will train at Goodison this morning, but in contrast his players have no place to work out before next Tuesday's second leg clash. That's an interesting little development there. Solidarity between the two Manchester clubs, it seems. And City of Goals reads the back of the Racing Post. Runaway league leaders can show class in Anfield thriller. It's Liverpool versus Manchester City. It's a 7:45 kickoff as always.
The Masters is the lead in the Irish Times, really. McIlroy hoping his numbers add up this time. And Augusta holds its breath in anticipation of Tiger's return. The miracle, in inverted commas, of Tiger not being able to walk and then suddenly being able to generate more club head speed than anybody else because he had a back fusion. The miracle. And that's all anybody's saying about that at the moment. There's been no significant questioning of Tiger Woods in the press conferences this week. Also on the front page of the Irish Times, it is the continuing fallout from the Ulster Rugby rape trial. Ulster Rugby and the IRFU have said winger Craig Gilroy is to be the subject of an internal review. It's emerged that Mr Gilroy sent a WhatsApp message referred to in evidence during the trial of his teammates and friends Paddy Jackson and Stuart Olding. That was the Any Sluts Get Effed WhatsApp that originated from Craig Gilroy. Craig Gilroy's statement last night was that he apologises for sending it, but that it wasn't in a group message, that it was private. Anfield hold its breath. Klopp vows to attack City again, and Liverpool's crowd prepares to play its part. That's the back of The Guardian this morning. Also, Woods dampens victory talk as momentum grows behind him at Augusta. It's funny how momentum grows behind everybody in the bill. Momentum's behind Jordan Spieth, it's behind Bubba, it's behind Rory, it's behind Tiger. I mean, if those four are in contention come Amen Corner on Sunday, happy days.
Absolutely, but the thing is, and I hate to bring it back to the market again, but you brought it up, like the betting when it comes to the Masters is an absolute nightmare. Like the first thing you look at is, the favourite is 11 to 1. Tiger Woods is 11 to 1. That's an amazing odds there each way. Any bookmaker paying 6 places. It's like, look at the fields. Look at the names that are at 30 something to 1, 40 something to 1.
Yeah.
It's an absolute kind of nightmare. It's a web of kind of lies and really treacherous waters is all I'm saying. But also from a neutral perspective, makes for amazing viewing. So no matter who's going down the home stretch on Sunday, it's going to be great. But if it is that quartet.
Educated people tell me that you can make money betting on golf. I don't really know how to do it, but so I tend not to. We might get some advice from somebody who knows a bit about that later on in the week. I'm a walking miracle. Woods on his amazing return to Augusta, and then also we need to create our own history. That's the History Boy story about Jurgen Klopp. Cristiano Ronaldo does not make the front of the Telegraph because, who cares? It's only Real Madrid.
It is a UK title. It is like it is a Daily Telegraph.
It is a UK title.
And it is Liverpool versus Manchester City tonight. It is a humongous game.
Yeah. Cristiano Ronaldo is fairly famous. He's just scored one of the greatest goals of all time.
I know he has. And he
does not merit your front page lead because you know what? You got Jurgen Klopp.
Not my front page lead.
Screw you, Europe, and your European shit. We don't care who you are.
He will probably trump Tiger or netball in front of my Daily Telegraph Sports.
Netball all day long.
Well, it looks like an exclusive interview, so maybe you got to go with that. But no.
Yeah, come on, Telegraph. Jesus Christ.
That's the only Ronaldo lead in the papers this morning, actually.
What?
The Irish Examiner that you're holding up right there.
Well, he's on the back page of all the tabloids.
But the actual lead, the actual main photo, main headline, out of this world, as you're holding up there, the only one that's actually dominating. So, maybe the editors agree with me, Jar. Maybe Liverpool-Manchester City is a more important story.
I mean, the Guardian didn't do it either. Jesus Christ. What's wrong with these people? I mean, also, this is the Independent, and that has Cristiano Ronaldo right there. Oh, one got distracted. Who's this? What's that? What's he doing? He's going to goal. Overhead bicycle kick, back page. Carbery, I'm going nowhere for now. We'll hear from Joy Carbery.
Carbery, the main story there on the back page of the Irish Independent.
Yeah, but we all know what the big story is. Oh, look, it's the main picture on the back of the Mail as well.
Jurgen Klopp dominating the headline. Klopp battle cry reads the main story there on the back of the Irish Daily Mail.
Is this the greatest ever Champions League goal? There's your newspaper headlines for you this morning.
It agrees to disagree. It's a time issue, obviously. I think people's jaws were still open when this thing happened and the deadline had passed and they're like, oh crap, we actually haven't put the story in. I need to sit down and actually do some work. Maybe that's what happened. It was, of course, it was an unbelievable moment and it will get kind of solidified in things kind of more permanent in newspaper back pages, although you'd imagine the Spanish back pages are very interesting this morning as well. That would have been a good idea for the top of this show, Joe, wouldn't it? Thinking out loud.
Great. They're having the production meeting at 8:05 as opposed to, 7 o'clock.
There was a lot of other stuff that we might actually bring people now in terms of the Ronaldo goal last night. For example,
la leyenda.
That's the back page of
Marca.
Okay.
Something the legend.
I have no idea. I don't do Spanish, but we'll we might as well bring you the video of the Juventus fans last night because this was sensational. It was one of the things that will be remembered about this goal. Was just
to the legend.
To the legend. There you go. Here, let's just watch the video from the Allianz Stadium last night. Here are the Juventus fans reacting to Ronaldo's goal.
Polite applause, in fairness. What else can we do?
Sulk. Put your head down and kind of mourn the fact that you've just been knocked out of the Champions League.
You saw that picture of the Chelsea fans celebrating with Dele Alli after he'd scored. The Chelsea fans would have thrown their urine-filled cups down on top of their own supporters beneath them if Cristiano Ronaldo did that against them. That's what they would have done.
Well, there's that, and there's also
many hand gestures.
Yes.
Go and do that to yourself, young Cristiano.
But it's a strange one when it comes to Chelsea fans because most of them probably only became fans of the club in and around 2003, 2004. So why not hop on a new bandwagon? Why not hop on the Cristiano Ronaldo bandwagon? I'm sure they would have changed when they saw that bicycle kick. They're like, wow.
I mean, technically, you could be a Madrid and a Chelsea fan.
Absolutely.
Homes in both of these sophisticated European capitals.
Completely. I'm sure you can even get a half and half jersey if you wanted, a half Real Madrid, a half Chelsea jersey, and you're a real football fan at that point.
Perfect. What else?
There was a couple of other things. I'm not sure what we actually brought at the top of the show. LeBron James was posting on Instagram about it last night. While he was warming up for a pretty huge game actually against the Raptors in the NBA last night, but he still found time to post about Cristiano Ronaldo's goal last night. I almost called him Zlatan. That's a Freudian slip right there. Are you not entertained? Cristiano Ronaldo, that's not even fair. Nasty.
Likes.
I think he's the only person who described it as nasty. I'm sure there's other Yanks who describe it as such, but he's the only one.
There's only a few of us who can do that, says Peter Crouch. Peter Crouch is a genius. James Milner, we haven't talked about James Milner also being a genius. You see his tweet measuring the Easter eggs?
Yes. James Milner has suddenly exploded onto the Twitter scene in fantastic fashion. He is automatically my favourite footballer on Twitter. And fair play to him. I hope it's him doing the tweets. Like, it's kind of the same as Johnny Sexton, when he first emerged onto Twitter, like just taking this persona as a guy who wouldn't necessarily take to social media too well because he might be viewed as kind of less out there than some of their other teammates, less kind of amicable to some people. That's what James Milner might be viewed as well, the boring James Milner. There was no boring Johnny Sexton account, there was, of course.
No, the boring carnies.
Exactly, but I think Sexton would have fallen into that category. So suddenly Sexton and James Milner arrive on the social media scene and kill it. They're doing fantastic work, so keep it up.
What's Sexton doing?
Well, Sexton, oh God, you're going to ask me for specifics now. Sexton's Twitter account is like 2 months old at this point. We may bring it up later in the show, but I'm not actually sure as he tweeted much recently, but certainly he started off quite well when people were like, oh no, this guy's on Twitter, he's clearly going to be the life of the party. And, you know, he had some very, very good comebacks to a few of his teammates, I should say, on Twitter. I wish I had specific examples here. If I'd known that I would actually have gone down on this tangent, I would have prepared myself.
Yeah, apologies for that. I mean, I'm battling illness today, and so therefore my performance is a little bit below par. You've got no excuse.
Well, no, I can feel myself via the contagion getting ill myself, so thanks for that.
It's not like we're in an enclosed studio here where the temperature is very high and it's fertile ground for disease.
It is very fertile ground for disease.
A petri dish.
It is. There's even jerseys in the corner there that should actually soak up this illness and leave it lingering in the studio for a couple of more months. So looking forward to this.
So Champions League goals better than Cristiano Ronaldo's?
Zidane, maybe. Nobody's talking about Mandzukic last year. I don't think Mandzukic's was better than Ronaldo's.
I think for these goals to really matter, they need to be winning goals. They need to be goals that have an influence on a game. So Joe Canning's amazing goal against Kilkenny doesn't really get that much play in terms of all-time great goals because they're getting hammered.
Yeah. Whereas you talk about someone like Owen Mulligan's goal against Dublin.
Yeah, it wins a game.
Won a game. Yeah, for sure.
Actually, I think the Peter Canavan goal against Kerry in the Ireland final is actually better because of the range of movement, people involved. The 1-2 that Canavan gives to Mulligan backing into using his big arse, and then the perfect slide, kind of left foot without breaking stride finish from Canavan beyond the outstretched arms of
Diarmuid Murphy.
Diarmuid Murphy, is it?
Yeah, it would have been 2005. Yeah, like what about any of Lara's goals in 2010? Like one of them in particular was amazing, wasn't it?
The one where JJ throws his hurl, or somebody throws the hurl.
Yeah, it was JJ, wasn't it? That one was sensational, and I do agree that it does have to count for something. But in pure skill, and you take the kind of situational element out of it, maybe there is a couple of other goals that could be up there, but they could be bizarre kind of absolute thunderbolts in the middle of the group stages, which matter not. So it is the pressure that's involved in it, and that is why. That's why he's so great, because he thrives under this sort of pressure. He wants to get himself in these situations. He wants to pull up a great team like Real Madrid under his own weight, and he wants to take them to the next level. And if he's doing it in this manner, then I'm all for Cristiano Ronaldo hanging around for as long as possible.
All right, Graham Hunter's on the line this morning to you. Good morning to you, Even. How are you doing, Graham?
Typically well, Ger. A song in my heart is the best way to say it.
Tell me, have you seen a better Champions League goal?
Yes, I think I have. I've got no question whatsoever, although I'm not a particular fan of Mandzukic. That goal in Cardiff last season is the greatest goal in Champions League history. Absolutely no question about it. The ball in from Dani Alves, Alexandro taking it on a left foot volley, cushioned on the chest by Gonzalo, what's my foot for Higuain. Just that little cushioned setup for Mandzukic, who then takes it on his chest, leaping up at 6'2" to leap up the control, and then overhead kick as Casemiro and I think Dani Alves, Casemiro and Carvajal, of course, the right back, close him right down. I've got no question whatsoever and people argue, Ger, don't they? They say that a great goal. I'm in an airport, as you might know. This doesn't happen in my house. There's no departure lounge in Dandy Mansions. But if anybody wants to go to Mallorca, it's gate 6. Some people say that a great goal has to be scored in a win, and Mandzukic's team lost that night. But from my point of view, Mandzukic's goal was the best ever.
Right, because I was just making the argument that you've got to somehow have an influence on the winning of the game. And Ronaldo's goal wins the game. The Zidane goal against Leverkusen, it wins the game. Like, it's their... I did believe that, but
Pulp Fiction-wise, Ger, allow me to retort. Because if you want to set the premise of your question, was that the greatest goal in a winning performance? Fine, Ger, fine, okay, baby. But let's set things out as we want the PhD to finish. Look, I shouldn't fool around because, it was glorious, aerially to get that kind of coordination. You're talking on about him hanging around. Well, he flipping hung in the air a little bit last night, didn't he? I don't quite know how players do that. Buffon stationary, the joy of something I'm writing about this week, seeing fans applaud the opposition team, which I've seen in Turin before, when the Juventus fans applauded Manchester United off the pitch in 1999. I thought that was exceptional. I was there. Ronaldinho being applauded at the Bernabeu for that 3-0 Barcelona win, I guess, in something like 2005. I was there. That became a real source of ridicule for the Real Madrid fans who applauded Ronaldinho. Their fellow fans turned on them. But the Turin fans, I loved what they did. And I loved seeing Ronaldo touched and humble and thanks very much, guys. It was a beautiful goal, a beautiful moment. And I'd like to tell you that he was listening in the changing room in the Turin Stadium to Off the Ball last night and heard me telling Joe that there was no question in my mind that Real Madrid would win the tie, would win that game. Because I had no question that Juve are reduced, that they're worse off without Alves and Bonucci, that Buffon is... I'll never use Pastel by date for a great like him, but the myth is greater than the man at the moment because he's gone on too long. And I was absolutely sure that Madrid would win that tie, and I said so on your show last night.
yeah, in proper order. I mean, it does feel like this is a Real Madrid side who have come out the other side a bit of the travails that they had around Christmas time, that Zidane and the team are united irrespective of the backroom difficulties that seem to be going on there, and that, like, at this point, given their quality, anything is possible.
Look, I just say more than a bit, Ger. For weeks now, domestically, they've been looking powerful, unified. The key players are in form. And they raise the game. It's Pavlovian. There's absolutely no question that when the big teams come around, or when the Champions League comes around, their mentality changes. I still find it remarkable watching groups of players who are paid gigantic amounts of money, whose skill level puts them in the best in the world, and who don't decide, I'll try a little bit less today, I'll try a little bit more tonight. The impact that anthem, the impact that playing foreign teams away, the impact of the idea of lifting that cup with the big ears again has on sides like Real Madrid is extraordinary. And if you put together the comeback win over PSG at the Bernabeu, the way that they took Unai Emery's side apart in the Parc des Princes, and they did, plus that game, to me, they've been showing Kiev form. Certainly in the country where I live, I'm in Seville just now. I was at that game against Bayern Munich last night. For the last few days, even before that 3-0 win, Ger, people have been saying Madrid are going to the final again. Madrid are going to win it. Everybody shrugs, everybody accepts it. It's what they do, and it's why I wrote for ESPN this week. They're not given the proper respect. They're not. People just go, well, this is what Real Madrid... Well, it ain't easy. It ain't easy to keep a group of players like that motivated. It's not easy to make sure that they keep their hunger. It's not easy to keep the bench powerful. I think Zidane is in the middle of a really extraordinary achievement right now.
Yeah, I'd completely agree with that, really. It's hard to give him the credit, I suppose, not to sympathise with people who kind of are the naysayers against Zidane, but it is hard to give him his full due credit when you've got a player and an individual like Cristiano Ronaldo in the side. But if you look at the other side of the pitch, and I thought last night Varane and Ramos were just absolutely sensational, and there's a centre-back pairing there which does have to be coached. There does have to be a chemistry there that can be improved with coaching. And how much credit would you give to Zidane for that pairing which has emerged into potentially Europe's best at the moment?
I think he subdivides his role a little bit, to be honest with you, and I think he allows Ramos to be like an NFL leader of the defence. Zidane, I know, in training, doesn't do what Guardiola does, that sort of putting yourself in, intervening, shuffling people around, like Benitez would do, measuring the millimetres between blades of grass and Real Madrid boots. What he does set up is a competitive environment in training every day where people enjoy going to work. And what they do is they do play intensely. When they play, I don't know how many times because you guys are so good at cross sports, you'll have heard this phrase all the time. They train like they want to play. So if we've seen a development in Varane, and I think we have seen a development in Varane, who was at his best under Mourinho all that time ago, and then hit a dip, and didn't, in fact, not only didn't improve, went backwards. The partnership has flourished. They're confident in Keylor behind them. And what's more, they absolutely rely on Casemiro blocking off a lot of the traffic that comes their way. I agree with you last night. It was one of the best partnership performances of Varane and Ramos. But when you look at the elements around them, they both know they're never caught out, for example, that Carvajal and Marcelo go on. It's not like, whoa, where are our fullbacks? That's part of the plan. They practice it every day. Casemiro blocks in front of them, and they wholly trust Keylor behind them. These are elements, if you've got two extraordinary athletes, two really competitive guys, and Ramos needs the bigger credit here. Ramos is like Cristiano in his way, and like Piqué, and like Messi, and like Iniesta. It's like everything all the time, fully focused all the time. Win, 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 never get tired of winning, never get tired of winning. That's not a common phenomenon. If you put the talent aside, this almost manic hunger to win, 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 win. People dull all the time in the sports you cover around football, and these guys don't. That's key to what you were praising, I think.
Graham, a quick word on that game last night then that you were at. I had a vague inkling that actually Sevilla were going to do something special last night. It didn't come to pass. 2 deflected goals for Bayern gave them a 2-1 win.
They looked for half an hour as if they were not only on top but could get a second goal. Missed a sitter, scored a decent one. They were moving the ball quickly. They were turning Bayern Munich. Lewandowski wasn't in the game. Bayern Munich impressed me a lot. They wrestled the game back, Ger. They knew that Sevilla's legs would go after Saturday's marathon match against Football Club Barcelona. Montella didn't use his substitutes well. Banega missing meant that Sevilla couldn't control the play, couldn't control the tempo, and the more they chased, we've seen it before, the more they chased, the more that Bayern took control. I interviewed Frank Ribery last night, I interviewed Steven Nzonzi, both of them said the same. They said that while there were chances for Sevilla to impact more on the result, Bayern were better for at least 60 minutes, used their resources better, their big players kind of came to the party, physically they imposed themselves. And ultimately, Sevilla's legs ran out and they couldn't slow the ball and slow the game down. And I don't see them doing anything special in the Allianz Arena. Sadly, for Sevilla, I think that dream is over now.
Okay, so Bayern are probably through, Real are probably through, and then there's only two more places left for the semi-finals. I know you've a big sit-down with Jurgen Klopp coming on Patreon.
It's out now. It's out now. Yeah.
The big interview. People should go and subscribe to that.
Thank you.
What was it like? What was his?
I'm ready for criticism, Ger, because we took a deliberate idea that Jurgen Klopp is not interesting solely because of the enormity of this game, where his team faced City, where it's 2 English teams in the quarters, where we're trying to determine if the Premier League can turn out a winner again, where it's Klopp versus Pep. Klopp, probably the most successful individual coach in turning out teams that take Pep's teams down. So the fascination there is gigantic. But we thought that we've known each other 17 years, you and I. I like people who live life with ferocity. I like people who laugh loudly all the time. I love people who attack life with a huge appetite and maybe influence people around. So I wanted Klopp to try and explain that to me, show that to me. I wanted him to shine, to come out, Ger. I think that's Pep announcing, what's happening tonight just to ruin the Klopp effect. He's good, that Guardiola. He's really good. But look, I enjoyed listening to him. I enjoyed the fact that when he engaged in it, he started to talk about leadership. He started to compare, James Bond and his ideal about what's right in life, and Robin Hood came up. And what we came to at the end, I think, was this idea that he likes to make people happy, whether it's people around him, whether it's his family, whether it's his players, whether it's the fans, or whether it's people in football in general. And I reminded him that Bill Shankly's statue says he made people happy. And I'm not comparing them as coaches. In terms of people who manage men, in terms of people who manage an atmosphere, who create an ideal, Klopp impresses me, and I hugely enjoyed the 45 minutes that we spent together. It was meant to be 30, but his last answer was 15 minutes. So I'm guessing, particularly with the daft video I made and put out where we talked about James Bond's testicles, and the fact that he said that he'd do the whole thing again. Either that was an elaborate April Fool's joke in March, or he enjoyed it and we're going to do it again.
Well, I'm looking forward to the second one as much as I'm looking forward to the first one. What's going to happen tonight, though?
Yeah, Barca win. There are doubts around it simply because Busquets is back after injury. Leo Messi is not fully pain-free, and therefore, if things go wrong, if either of them don't function fully, Roma are a block who defend well. My view of it is, since Barca lost at home in the Champions League, it was 2013 against a very good Bayern side, 3-0 against a destroyed, out on their feet Barca side. Since that game, 24 matches at the Camp Nou, 22 wins, 2 draws, 77 goals, 12 conceded. Roma's midfield, in my view, although full of quality, and Strootman and De Rossi, is a little bit slow. I have a feeling that Barcelona can put a 2-goal margin on Roma. I'm not calling it easy. I'm saying that I think Barca are good. We throw in a Genja, and I think it's important that Barcelona will run ragged by Sevilla at the weekend. I think if they don't impose themselves, Roma will understand where their chances come. Will understand that they will get in behind the defence, because that's what Barca allow teams to do. But I see them winning and I see them going through. It's as simple as that. Liverpool, Manchester City, I think it's really clear. Pep's Manchester City can now, for a while, almost play without him. I think 8 or 9 of that Manchester City side are Pep on the pitch. And that, so far, is his crowning achievement. Not the League Cup. The league, when they win it, whether it's the weekend or later, is exceptional to win it so early. But his crowning achievement is that there are 8 or 9 Peps out there every time. They understand, they apply the ideals themselves. And that makes it difficult for Liverpool, because Liverpool are not the complete article yet. But if Liverpool start at high pace and find cracks, Otamendi has improved but is not the perfect centre-back, and Liverpool can be in this tie and can play on the break successfully in Manchester if they keep it alive tonight. So from my view, while I don't dispute everybody's view that City deserve to be called favourite, and Klopp would call them favourites, I think that I think we have a tie. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion.
No, for sure. It should be amazing. Graham, we'll let you go and catch your flight. Thanks a million, man. Enjoy the game tonight. That's Graham Hunter on his way back to the new camp.
Yeah, absolutely cannot wait for tonight. It rightfully leads all the back pages this morning because it is a huge, huge game. But just even thinking about the fact that Sergio Aguero is going to be missing tonight, so you're going to have Sané, Sterling, Gabriel Jesus as your front three, 21, 22, 23 years old. When you look at those numbers, you think to yourself, right, geez, this is so unbelievably young to be getting involved in a 2-legged tie with a storied club such as Liverpool in the Champions League. But then you think to yourself, Pep has had these guys for 2 seasons to be able to mould these guys into his way of thinking, that they're so young, they're so impressionable, but they've been under the impression of Pep Guardiola, which means that they're now 21, 22, 23 years old, probably no fear. They've been instilled, they've been baptised by Pep Guardiola as...
So confident.
So confident. Pep is just taking them under the wing and is like, you are amazing. You are absolutely amazing. Do you see that man, Cristiano Ronaldo, doing that bicycle kick? Well, I back you to do that 10 times out of 10. He can jump 7.5 feet in the air. Gabriel, you can jump 8.5 feet in the air if you want. You can do whatever you want. And they are just brimming with confidence, and this age thing is actually going to work in Manchester City's favour completely, because they've never had that moment where they started to doubt themselves. Sterling did, of course, but that's changed completely now.
Well, there was some talk that Sterling was available last summer, and you think now the player that he's become under Pep. Just to go back to the Mandzukic goal, right? So it's pretty bloody good.
The Mandzukic goal is outrageously... you had the flailing goalkeeper when it came to Mandzukic, which actually makes a goal more aesthetically pleasing. Or does it? That's up for debate.
Well, it's right over his... So, but I had forgotten that it's like a right wing cross. It doesn't touch the ground. There's like a left-footed back... Somebody cushions it on their chest. I mean, Graham obviously went through player by player exactly who it was.
Yeah. And
then Mandzukic, it's not quite an overhead bicycle kick, but it is an overhead volley.
Yeah, and it's...
Manzukic's goal, not greatest for me. Great goals.
I agree with Shirts v Skins there.
Rocket in.
It was a parabola. Had it been a parabola that won the Champions League...
Beautiful parabola.
It is beautiful, and you've got the beautiful flailing parabola of the goalkeeper as well, which I think makes it better. But at the same time, seeing Buffon rooted...
Ronnie Whelan's goal always gets discredited because it's a shinner, right?
As does Rooney's.
Well, What's wrong with your job is to score the goal, and you're using that part of your body. I mean, maybe if you hit it with the meat of the foot, it doesn't go in; it just balloons over the crossbar. Maybe the experts, the thousands and thousands and thousands of times you've done this, you're like, if I hit this with my shin, it's going to go in.
I don't think that's the way you're thinking, to be quite honest with you. Do you really think that Ronnie is like lining that up and is like,
Shinner,
got to hit this with my shin?
Yeah.
Really need to hit this with the shin.
I've done this at home farm 1,000 times.
Who practices shinners?
Well, you know, I mean, maybe that's what separates plebs like us to...
When was the last time you saw Cristiano Ronaldo score a shinner?
I'd say Ronaldo scores lots of shinners.
He probably does. He probably does.
That's and your time begins with.
But it's completely different, though. I mean, like maybe that is the deliberate.
Anyway, regardless, he took us down a sidetrack there.
Hitting the ball with your foot clean makes it a better goal. Simple as that.
Mandzukic does. Mandzukic does.
He does, yeah. So it's a pointless thing to say anyway.
And he's lobbing it over the goalkeeper.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful goal. There's no question about it. But there was just something about the athleticism of Ronaldo's bicycle kick last night, which is more impressive. The way it like rockets in it looks like a rocket in comparison to Mandzukic's. I wouldn't necessarily say it does rocket in, but
and Zidane's,
yeah. Well, Zidane's are just gorgeous as well. Like Zidane's, I suppose, being when it was time-wise, and the fact that it had a hugely material effect in the game, as we've already spoken about, it kind of brings it above Mandzukic. I would have Ronaldo ahead of Zidane. It's Ronaldo, Zidane, Mandzukic.
The hospitals are going to be full of adults, says Alan Young, with back injuries, trying to recreate the overhead and five-a-side pitches countrywide. Zizi's goal was the greatest Champions League goal of all time, being a final and all that, says Lenny Clark.
It does have an impact, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, does Mandzukic get super extra bonus points for being on a team that's getting annihilated by Real Madrid?
They weren't getting annihilated at the time. It was an equaliser.
Yeah, like, do you get, you're on the inferior team and you're capable of doing this amazing thing. It's harder for you than it is for... So Zidane's on a superior team. He's on a superior force. Ronaldo clearly on the better team.
It's not like inferior to the point of, I don't know, what was the most
Chesterfield in the cup.
Yeah, Chesterfield in the cup, let's say, or maybe Dortmund against Bayern. Well, that was a very, very good Dortmund side, so that comparison doesn't make sense at all. Like, say, maybe last night Sevilla against Bayern Munich. If that was the Champions League final, like Juventus underperformed to a certain extent in that Champions League final last night, beaten comfortably by a team that were better than them for sure, but maybe not as much better than them as the scoreline suggested in the end. So I think they lose points for that, in fact. And of course, Mandzukic's goal was probably the most memorable thing that happened in that Champions League final, because it was a sensational goal and clearly the best goal that happened in that final. But no, I wouldn't give it extra points because they were beaten soundly, no.
All right. You got there eventually. Leicester hooker James Tracy was chatting to the media yesterday. Here he is on Tuesday, Stuart Lancaster's Tuesdays.
We've now recalled it Tuesday because every Tuesday Stuart takes us, and everyone knows what's coming when he takes us for the majority of the session. We're running a lot more kilometres than any other day of the week, and we're under pressure in defensive and attacking situations, and I think that's starting to come to a forefront now after having a full season of it last year, and just becoming more comfortable in chaos and getting back to our points. So we're running from one end of the field and we're defending straight away. I think a great example of that was of the kick-off they went through, and Dev got off the line and made the tackle on Farrell, and he knocks it on. It was literally exactly like the drills that we do in getting back to our points, getting off the line. So I think that was like a great example of it. But yes, Tuesdays are a feared thing in here.
Yeah. Some beds in full display as well at Leicester press conferences now. It's like, yeah, you're going to get a tan, you're going to get grilled by the press.
I thought that getting a tan when you're ginger doesn't really work, but he's proved that it does, so I'm going to come in tomorrow looking very, very different, is all I'm saying.
Rory O'Loughlin was also talking at the Leinster presser. He got chatting about the influence of Isa Nasewa.
Yeah, I think he's very, obviously very skillful. His ability to offload the ball and to get his hands free is incredible, and as you saw when he was playing Super Rugby, he has a very impressive try scoring record. So playing with him from a 13, it's very easy, as he's very vocal. He's constantly talking, and as well as that, he is mentally very good at seeing this, having a relaxed look about the game. He kind of settles players down, and you see it when he's playing. He's constantly celebrating, loves smiling out there. He really enjoys playing it. So that kind of relieves nerves for you as a player. If you're playing with someone who is quite obviously relaxed, it relaxes you. And I think sometimes when games get frantic and you're looking around, and if everyone's kind of visibly nervous or like rigid, it feeds throughout the team. Whereas you look at him and he's constantly relaxed, constantly enjoying playing, and he has experience playing in big games, and that feeds through to us. Definitely as outside backs, and he has a different view on the game from where he's come from. So he's very good for a young player, young outside back like myself, just to have the confidence to kind of throw that offload or see an opportunity and call for the ball. As you saw with his try, there probably wasn't even a big hold. He ran straight into Maritoje, but it was just the strength in his carry that got him over the line, and then help from a few of the other lads as well.
Yeah. So we were talking about this yesterday. Definitely Leinster's greatest ever import. Potentially Irish rugby's greatest ever import.
Potentially, yeah. Like you look at the Ireland team, and there was certainly a bit in the back of my head last week that was thinking, right, just appreciate the fact that Ireland are Grand Slam champions. This weekend could be a disaster. Like Munster going up against a fantastic team in Toulon, Leinster obviously coming up against a fantastic team in Saracens. But then you look through the Leinster team and you're like, right, what are they actually losing from Ireland? Well, you've got Scott Fardy in the back row to replace whatever the loss of a Peter O'Mahony from the Ireland setup, who turns out to be fantastic in the back row. You start to think to yourself, well, what about Bundy Aki? I mean, they don't have anybody like him in the Leinster squad. And you're like, wait a minute, Izan Asewa is actually one of the best centres playing his trade in the Northern Hemisphere. He is arguably the greatest import that Leinster have ever made.
2008.
And like, you listen to O'Loughlin there talking about just the influence he has, the calming effect that he has around the camp. I'd imagine that's just a huge part of what Isa brings to the squad, and it really can't be overstated how important he is to the Leinster cause.
You really hope that, like, given that he has some coaching experience and expertise in the middle of his career, that there's room for him as part of the coaching ticket at Leinster next season, because having that presence around, that's assuming that he doesn't play one more season, because he clearly can play one more season. You know, he is at a level where, yeah, we'll have Isa, please. Yeah, absolutely, we're picking Isa. Like, he hadn't played for the last 6 weeks, and I mean, they were obviously keeping him to make sure that he was fit for that game, because he's so important to them. The biggest game of the season. We want this guy. If he plays 10 or 12 games next season, and it's like the Champions Cup away games, the interprovincials, you'd be, yeah, okay, great.
Like, without getting ahead of ourselves here, there could be a position where Leinster are in next year where it's like, make history, defend the Champions Cup crown. Okay, let's not just say that yet, but they could be in a position. They're favourites for the Champions Cup. They could be in a position to make history and go down as one of the all-time great teams,
or win it and make amends for not winning it this season. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Or that.
Whatever the scenario is, you want him on your side.
Absolutely, but there's also a situation when it comes to rugby that there's no kind of throw him in full forward, and he doesn't need to be the physical specimen he once was. To be in any starting position in the 15 for rugby, you need to be unbelievably fit. You need to still be at the top of your game, so there can't be any bit of a fall off. So that might go for him or against him, but certainly 10-15 games next season, absolutely he can do it, barring any sort of unforeseen injury.
Right, Avonmore Protein Milk is teaming up with Ireland and Leinster star Joey Carbery for its new You've Got This campaign. Avonmore Protein Milk are inspiring others by showcasing what it takes to make it in high-performance sport. Joey was in with us yesterday. Here's how we get on. All right, as you can see, Joey Carbery is here with us. Joey, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
You're on a week off.
Yeah, nice little week to kind of refresh, and it's been a busy few weeks, so looking forward to it.
And are you going to stop and think and go, holy shit, we just won the Grand Slam and beat Saracens? Or is it going to be like, no, don't think about that until the end of the season?
It'd be great just to sit on what we've done, but we're in a good position now, so we want to keep building. So we're going to take it week by week and keep preparing.
Wouldn't it be much better if the Grand Slam was at the end of the year and you can go completely mental and actually enjoy it properly?
Yeah, it is tough because like having been in camp and stuff for 9 weeks, it's pretty tiring. And then obviously it was a huge few weeks, and we were lucky to win it. And then straight back into almost a quarter-final week and back into preparing for that. So yeah, it is. It's a bit weird, but I suppose it makes everyone a bit more hungry as well. Coming into the end of the year and getting that taste of silver really makes everyone want a bit more, I suppose.
What was Twickenham like? Is that your first time there?
First time there, yeah. It's pretty cold, I must say. with a bit of snow as well, which wasn't too bad. But no, it's an incredible stadium, and the atmosphere is electric. So many Irish people there as well.
Yeah.
Like after when we got our medals and was doing a walk around and stuff, all the Irish people stayed, and I'd say the stadium was still half full. So it was pretty incredible.
A couple of things struck us from. So you come on with about 10 minutes left to go in the first half, and see out the rest of the first half. And I think it was James Downey who pointed out that Johnny Sexton's actually, he's waited behind to make sure that he's there to go off with you. He kind of gives you a high five at the end of that. So that must have been, obviously it's a clear sign that he's not like, there's proper kind of closeness there, and he's looking out for you. And the second thing, in the second half, the first thing that happens when you come on is you get absolutely smashed by one of their back row forwards, like way after the ball has gone. It's like, okay, I guess that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, it was nice of Johnny to wait for me at the end there. We do get on really well. We spend a good bit of time together through training and kicking and stuff, so it's good to have someone there you can chat to, and someone who's been through it all and seen it all really as well. So great guy to know.
Why was he waiting for you? What's it like, just to, okay, this is going well now, keep going kind of thing? Or
I'd say maybe just could have been encouragement or something. It was nice to see him though when you're running off, and everyone was pretty excited. It was pretty intense that whole game. So I suppose everyone was just trying to stick together and make sure we pulled through. Yeah,
and then getting completely dumped. You're like, oh yeah, great, thanks.
I actually didn't even see that one coming either. So there was no way I could even prepare for it. So I think I just passed the ball inside, and then it just hit me from the side. So I hurt a bit, but. Look.
Do you expect that? Like, do you expect, okay, I'm the 10, they're trying to kill me here, and that's just the way, that's the rules of engagement. Like, so we saw it with Saracens and Sexton at the weekend, that like, the 10 gets hit, the ball might be there sometimes, generally it's not.
Yeah, like, I suppose with the 10 being pretty pivotal, like in the team's attack, putting him under pressure would like make his job a bit harder. But then I suppose like if you're being targeted, then you're hoping that there's going to be space somewhere else for someone else. So yeah, like I suppose you're doing your job right if you're being targeted.
Yeah, Brian O'Driscoll in commentary at the weekend was saying Sexton's not going to feel it right now, but obviously, you know, it's a clear sign that they really respect him, and it's
yeah, exactly.
It's a positive thing.
Exactly, like if you weren't doing your job right, then I'm pretty sure they'd just be ignoring you. So,
yeah,
it's a sign you're doing something right anyway.
When Johnny Sexton is waiting for you in that sort of position, like what's that sort of relationship like? I presume it's a two-way street, as in he's taking you under his wing to a certain extent. It's obviously got benefits for him as well. I'm sure there's the obvious thing of competition, but also I'm sure when you're on the training pitch, you're almost as intense as Johnny as well in terms of being a complete perfectionist.
Yeah, I suppose that comes part and parcel with being a 10. You kind of have to lead and kind of organise things, so if it's not up to scratch, sometimes it does look like it's on your shoulders, so you want everything going well, but then like I train pretty hard and I try my best, so I'm hoping I'm putting Johnny under pressure, and that then involves him playing better, so like the element of competition, and I'm hoping anyway that I'm putting him under a bit of pressure, so he feels like he might need to perform that bit better.
Is that dynamic any bit different at all when you're in Ireland camp as opposed to Leinster camp? Because obviously with Ireland you've got a different leadership, just more leaders basically, with the likes of Peter O'Mahony and Rory Beston there as well. Obviously you've got the likes of Visa Nasewa and stuff when it comes to Leinster, so there's no shortage of leaders for sure. But is it a different dynamic at all, even just with different coaches and stuff?
Not really. I think like competition is so important in the team, because then it does drive everyone to play better. But no, I don't think it's too much different really.
Who's winning those kicking competitions that you guys are having?
It wasn't Murray anyway when we're in Irish camp. But no, they're pretty close at the moment. There's a hoop in Leinster that we've been trying to kick it in. No one's got it in yet, so I think that's the ultimate.
Where's the hoop?
So it's on the training pitch. So it's used for the hookers. So the hookers like throw it. So it's at a decent enough height, but it wouldn't be like extremely high, and it's only a small, probably the size of that fan maybe, so we take it from about 30 metres back.
Yeah.
And then now there's been a few close ones, but there's no one yet. So
just to confirm, you're not saying you're beating Sexton, but you're definitely beating Murray in the kicking competitions at Ireland camp.
That's correct.
And that's fair enough. And the payment is coffee, right? That's
coffee. Yeah, it's normally just coffees in the airport or something.
That's fair enough. And Murray's been buying all the coffees basically.
Yeah, correct.
That's fair enough. So like,
that obviously improves your kicking. Like, you know, so you're joking about the fact that you're up against each other, but it's pretty serious when you're doing it because you want to win, right?
Exactly, and like it's very hard to simulate like game scenarios and being under pressure. So the element of competition and not wanting to buy the coffees, I suppose, as well. It's not even the coffees, it's the slagging, I'd say, which is way worse. So you put yourself under a bit of pressure, because if you're just kicking and there's nothing on it really, it's just not the same. So you have to be kind of putting yourself under a bit of pressure.
And does Conor not try and get the kicks removed back to like the 50-metre line or something so that he actually has a better chance? No, I think it's unanimous. So like Richie Murphy might pick the kicks, so Richie sometimes partakes in it, so it'd have to be a bit closer. And how does Richie hold? Does he hold his own in those competitions?
Yeah, definitely. Richie still got it.
Right, okay, yeah, because I saw your Instagram post of yourself, Johnny Ritchie, and of course Ronan O'Gara there as well. So was there another different sort of element of competition there when Roger
did O'Gara kick?
He did, yeah.
Oh, right. Who
he
won that one?
Won it.
No way.
Yeah,
so, sickening.
He hasn't lost it at all. So
that's the picture there. That is sickening. That he's still able to just no effort.
No,
just off
not even a warm up, just
off the flight from New Zealand.
Exactly, yeah, probably jet lagged as well.
Yeah, sickening. Your own kicking's obviously improved. Like, so I think the last time we had you in studio, you were in a cast for your ankle and you weren't able to do any kicking practice. But your injury, the main injury that you had over the winter, was actually wrist, elbow.
Yeah, my wrist into my arm. So I broke 3 bones across there. So I was just in a cast. I could pretty much after the first week start kicking again. So I had about 7 or 8 weeks of just rehab and kicking. So
kind of boring, but also good for you.
Yeah, it wasn't too boring because like I was kicking with Richie and Emmett Farrell and Leinster, so we were changing it up a good bit. But like it was really good. I could literally just concentrate all on place kicking for a few weeks. So
now it's not ideal. You wouldn't volunteer to have that, but at some stages in your career, to go back and practice one of the most fundamental things that an out half is going to have to do, it's not the worst thing that's ever happened to you, right?
No, exactly. And like I suppose you have to see the positives and everything. Like it was disappointing not playing, and I'd obviously much rather be, but at least I could practice and work on something.
And how much better are you now as a result of something like that? Like,
I think I really nailed my kind of process down to what I needed to know what I needed to do. So rather than thinking about the kick or the outcome of the kick, I just went back to thinking about what I needed to do. So just going back to like staying on line, trying to kick the exact point on the ball that I wanted to.
Are you ripping that off somebody else? Is that like your own internal thing? Are you picking it from?
You do get advice, but I suppose every kick is different.
I'm going to grab a ball here so you can show us which bit of the ball are you kicking.
So normally we kick when we play with the Gilberts. The Gilbert will be facing me. So this bit of the Gilbert, so it says Gilbert there. So that'd be facing me. So I try and get my body in line with that Gilbert because it's a pretty good estimate of where 45 is.
Okay.
So I try and just pick. Normally, if it's a G or the T at the bottom, I try and pick. There's a little R kind of at the end of it, so I try and kick just around there, just staying on the inside, and staying on that line helps me kind of to follow through the ball.
And in terms of alignment for the post, is that like how do you fix that? Because
I just use the seams.
Okay.
So I just the seam on where I want it to go, and then I line up from the Gilbert on that.
And is there an angle you can have a So famously, I think it would have been Grant Fox who invented the certain number of steps to the left and then had a kicking style that was a bit kind of round the corner.
Yeah, so like I go 4 and 3, so it's just whatever works really for me. And like having that injury, I could test out a few things. Like I changed my tee as well during that time, so I could try out a few different tees and see what best fitted me kind of. So that was definitely beneficial. Do
you keep stats of every training session, or is it just a more, I feel like it's going well at the moment, or are you like...
I wouldn't like keep stats of trainings. I'd look at my stats in a game maybe, but it's normally like if something's not going right in training when I'm kicking, then I need to fix it. So I need to find out what I'm not doing and then change that. So it's all back to repetition really, and getting that muscle memory back.
How much repetition are we talking here? So if you're doing a kicking session, is it like 20 on the right, 20 in the middle, 20 on the left, and again and again and again?
It kind of varies. Like I suppose like you could be fatigued from the training, so you don't want to do too much either, because kicking can be quite strenuous as well. So you kind of like, you warm up maybe a few close ones in front just to kind of get the feeling and the strike going. So, and then you can kind of move out, and I normally just go 6 or 7 maybe to the left, 6 or 7 to the right, and then get the kicking coach to maybe pick out 6 or 7 different scenarios. So maybe like a penalty on the 10-metre line a bit to the left, and then a conversion, and then maybe throwing a few kicks to touch, penalties to touch, and it kind of just switches rather than just in front, just mindlessly, you just keep kicking. You have to switch in and out of it. So being able to focus back into kicking is important as well.
Because I guess if you're doing it from the one position all the time, you kind of get stuck in this vision a little bit, and you don't have any fresh view on it at all. And if you're moving location a little bit, it kind of feels that you're in a whole new world, as opposed with relation to the posts.
Exactly.
It's kind of like looking at a sheet of paper almost when you're studying for something, and it just stepping away for a while and coming back to it. It's kind of the kicking equivalent to that, I'd imagine.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I suppose in a game, you don't know where you're going to get it. You don't know what the weather's going to be like. You don't know what the scenario is going to be like. So being able to like step away and be able to do something, and then having to come back and focus back in, it's important, and I suppose you need to work on it as well.
So many out halves are like, oh, you know, he's a game manager or he's a game breaker. It's good to be able to do a little bit of both, but the thing that you can definitely get better at is managing games, because that's just about going through the experience of it. Much better to be able to be a game breaker and then to add the other stuff to your game, right?
Yeah, well, I suppose game management comes with experience, and as you said, like playing games. So I've been learning a good bit over the last few games, and been pretty big games to be coming into. So I definitely feel like getting the feel for the game and the scenarios that helps a lot, and knowing what to do then comes from that.
Is it unbelievably hard to do that from the bench, because you're looking at it and going, okay, I have a fair idea of how that game flow is going, and I can see where the space is, and I can see how their back three are moving, and I can see where the defence is coming from, and then you get into it, it's like, shit, that's not what I thought at all.
Yeah, it is tough, because like, no matter what you do, nothing can ever be the same as when you're actually on the pitch. So being a sub is tough, because you don't know when you're going to be coming on. It could be in the first minute, like Andrew Porter did for Tig, or it could be in the last. So I suppose when you get on, you kind of just try and fit in, get the feel for around you as quick as possible, and then that's when you can start then getting into it. So especially as a 10, it is quite tough to come on sometimes, and trying to feel the game and know what call to make and stuff is tough. But the preparation during the week helps with that. Being chucked at a few different scenarios by the coaches and being put under pressure makes it a bit easier in the game, I suppose.
How does your brain compute when to kick and when to pass or run? Like, what's that decision-making process?
You kind of get a feel for it, like in the middle of the pitch sometimes, if against a team that are putting you under pressure and you just keep going back and back, that's when you need to just put the pressure back on them. Whereas sometimes like you can kind of just know when the defence might be starting to break after a few phases. So it really is just a feel thing, and then the different conditions, like the time, the score, the weather. So a lot of different things come into it.
Because I think when it came to Chicago, I think I remember reading somewhere that Simon Zebo, when he would come on, was just telling you, right, kick it there. And your execution was obviously perfect, but maybe the decision-making, Simon was kind of calling the shots at that point. Is that different now? Do you have much more confidence in yourself rather than having to be told what to do by a teammate who's perhaps been in the heat of the action? So granted, they know how the game is going, but I guess you got a little bit more experience now. Yeah,
definitely. And I think they don't really tell us what to do from the outside. It's more like there's space there. Okay. So like they might, as a 10, it's so much easier playing inside guys who are communicating where the space is. So if they can see that the wingers maybe dropping back a good bit, they might be like, right, let's go, run it this way. So I feel like the more I play, the more I see the pictures that bit earlier. But then having guys outside you who can kind of let you know where the space is, and that makes my decision making that bit easier.
Who are those guys? Who are the best people at identifying that space?
Like they're all pretty good at it, but like someone like Robbie outside you is quite vocal, and he's very good at like picking out the space and being able to even then tell you a call to do. So because the decision making is so quick, and sometimes you might be organising the forwards and then you might not have time to have a look. So having someone like him outside you really helps.
Yeah, I think that's one of his underappreciated skills that I think as soon as he went down, I think we'd all come to the realisation that he was an unbelievably important part, obviously, of Ireland going forward, but especially at the back. And we weren't being opened up all the time, which isn't exactly something that you notice when you look back at a game. It's just things aren't happening for the opposition. But I guess it's his spatial awareness, as you just outlined, that allows Ireland to have that comfort, or so it seems to the audience.
Yeah, he's really good at like having a feel for what's on and what we should be doing, but then he's also really good at communicating it as well. Like you might be able to see it, but being able to communicate the right information is another skill in itself. So he's very good at that, and obviously
even on a pitch, he's shouting at you. You can hear clearly what he's saying.
Yeah. So like, it might not always be there, but like he does get in good information, and the same with Gary and the same with Rob. They all can see the pictures quite early, so it makes it a lot easier.
And what about your own kind of? You have to develop your own skill set in that, because like the 10 has to be a general, and you've got to be the boss. And it's kind of, well, okay, there's a big lump of a lot of grown men there who you're like, no, getting like you've got to. It doesn't automatically come natural to somebody at an early stage of their career. Yeah,
definitely. And like even with, as I was saying, with the information being fed in, you still have to make the decision on what, because sometimes there might be 2 or 3 different pieces of information being fed in. And like being a 10, you have to be quite assertive with the players around you and almost telling them what to do sometimes. So being quite confident and calm and just imposing yourself on whatever call you make, as long as it's quite clear and confident, that makes a huge difference to them. Whereas if you're a bit stuttery and stop-starty, it doesn't build confidence in them. So I suppose taking responsibility in that is something. How do you work on that? Because it's not the same as like going away and working on your kicking technique. It's a very different skill set. Yeah, and I suppose getting advice from other people, like chatting to Johnny about it, and even just watching how he imposes himself. Like it's not even what he says; it's just how he is. Yeah. Like, people listen to him, so just little triggers, and like just. I find like the clearer and the more confident you say things, the more people listen to you. Yeah, it's part performance as much as anything else. Yeah, definitely. And like I suppose it's a skill with anything in life. I suppose like the more calm and confident you are, the better it's going to be. So when it comes to like people skills, like stuff like chatting, telling people where they need to be, the more clear and confident you are, the better. In terms of your own form, it's difficult when you're not getting a full 80 minutes in the 10 position to make sure that your form is where it wants to be. So how do you measure that during the week? How do you feel like, yeah, I'm playing well? How do you, like, what are your own markers? I suppose if I keep getting picked, I must be doing something okay. But then, like, I know myself, like, if I'm training well, if I'm not training, if I hadn't trained that well, then you can kind of get a feel for it yourself. But I suppose I feel like I've been playing well enough when I've come on, and I've done little bits here and there that I hope have been appreciated, I suppose, by the coaches. But no, they seem to be, the feedback's pretty positive, so it builds confidence, I suppose. It must be a bit of a pain at the same time to be like playing really well, and there's also like a world-class 10 in front of you, both at Leinster and Ireland. Like, if you think back to the start of the year, Dan Levy must have been thinking, well, life is not very good here. I've got like Van der Fleer, who everybody says is amazing, breaking records with tackles. I've got Sean O'Brien after a brilliant Lions tour. Rhys Ruddock kind of can play 7 sometimes as well, and then suddenly he's like player of the tournament nearly and man of the match. So the competition is insane, and it can be both good and bad, I guess. Yeah, and I do think competition makes everyone play that bit better. Having that extra bit of pressure, I suppose, in training, knowing you need to perform because there's someone else next to you, in front of you, or behind you. So that's where I think Leinster, we're very blessed, kind of, where there's so much competition that it makes everyone perform that bit better. So there's going to be speculation now about you moving from Leinster to get game time. What do you say to that? Well, it's all I've heard about it is in the media, so there's no one's actually said anything to me. So I don't believe it, and I haven't been told anything. So I'm more than happy in Leinster at the moment. Yeah, because it makes sense to learn from the best player in that position in the world, and to put pressure on that player whenever you possibly can. And I suppose, like as you said with Levy, like you just don't know with injuries or anything. You could be chucked in straight away. So. No, I'm very happy at Leinster at the moment, and I can feel like I'm learning a lot, and it's definitely developing my game.
Yeah. What is Levy really the worst trainer of all time? Why is he getting slaughtered by Johnny Sexton when he's getting the Man of the Match award? It's like, this guy doesn't train at all. What's that all about?
Oh, I just think he doesn't like Mondays, I don't think. But no, Levy trains extremely hard when he is training, to be fair to him, and he works. You can see it in the gym and on the pitch, and it's obviously proving dividends right now.
Yeah.
Is someone like Levy training harder to fend off a fit Josh van der Flier coming back, or is he training harder to actually get the jersey off Josh van der Flier?
I'd say it's a bit of both, really. But like, I suppose everyone is striving to get one of the numbers between 1 and 15 on the Saturday or Sunday. So that's everyone's goal. So if that makes people around you play better, then I suppose that's a positive. But in the end of the day, the team comes first, and you gotta back the coaches on their decisions. So if you're in it or you're not, team comes first regardless.
And would that be your personal short-term goal, say, over the next season or two, that just to keep contributing to the team, and should Johnny Sexton ever get injured, that you're happy to fill in that regard? And would that be the same for Rob Kearney then, whatever the position requires of you, that you'll be happy to step in and, as you say, just do whatever is needed for the team?
Yeah, definitely. But I suppose everyone has the thing in the back of their head that they want to be starting as well. So like, I'm ambitious. I want to keep pushing hard, and if by pushing harder makes Johnny and Rob play better, then so be it. So I just got to keep working on it and be patient, really. Because
it is a meritocracy. I mean, there is no sense that Dan Levy isn't going to hold on to his jersey as long as he keeps up these performances, because it doesn't matter what his predecessor, I don't want to call him the predecessor in the jersey, the players who we would have assumed had ownership of that jersey. There is no ownership of a jersey in either team, it seems. No, not at all. And that's why I think the two teams like Leinster and Ireland have been playing so well, because there's an extra bit of hunger and to get into the team and wear the jersey, I suppose. So I suppose that is a huge positive, really, in both teams.
One last thing, Scarlets are bloody good. That's a bit of an issue here.
Yeah, they're very good. Very, very, very dangerous as well, with a lot of threats coming. So we're going to have to prepare quite well for them.
Well, listen, best of luck with that, and thanks very much.
Thank you. Cheers for having me.
Good stuff. Yeah, so Joey Carbery there, he's all over the newspapers today as well. Obviously, he'd been asked about whether or not he might be interested in a move, and he was like, no, very happy at Leinster for the moment. Let's move to boxing. Andy Lee is with us. We'll talk to him in just a minute. First, though, here's Jason Quigley on last night's OTB talking about his win at the weekend, and here's why he changed tack mid-fight and went for the body.
To be honest, it's not a shot that I throw pretty much, but obviously with the change of camp over at the Ingle Gym, I think everybody knows that the Ingle Gym is known for not doing too much open sparring and doing a lot of body sparring, and maybe that's where that shot came from.
Okay, so you were slightly surprised it came out as much as anyone?
Yeah, like it was just a shot that these are the kind of things that happen when you're in sparring and in training and everything like that there, and that wasn't a shot that I was looking for. It was mainly more the left hook to the head that I thought would have worked better than the actual left hook to the body, because I noticed in a few of his videos that whenever he leads off, he kind of puts his chin up in the air a little bit, and I thought maybe that I'd be able to catch him with a left hook on the chin, but his head was solid and hard, and I wasn't doing much damage to it, so I had to move downstairs to the body.
That fight obviously on Air Sport at the weekend, and OTB AM is brought to you this morning with Air, the home of Air Sport. Get amazing live sporting content free with Air Broadband. Andy, good morning to you.
Morning, Jay.
So, Quigley, we were just watching a bit of the fight back there. A bit rusty after time out of the ring. Natural enough that you'd be a bit rusty?
Yeah, but he seemed to want to make a statement, the way he fought. He was very aggressive, and he was loading up with a lot of big shots, like looking for the knockout. And as he said, Cruz's head was pretty solid, and I didn't seem to be getting any leeway out of those headshots. So he found a way in going to the body. It was interesting, he talked about the Ingle Gym, how they'd use a lot of body sparring. They would do rounds of just where you can only punch from, below the chin.
Why?
I don't know what the tactic is in that. One would be good conditioning for your body. Maybe you learn how to block shots and condition being hit in the stomach, but and maybe just to save punishment from taking shots to the head. I know from other Ingle fighters that's what they do, a lot of that, and it seemed to work to his benefit there, that he caught Cruz with very good body shots, really hurt him and stung him.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's a great win. Come back after a year off. Naturally, there's going to be some ring rust and some frustration, and you can see he wanted to work that out in the fight, and to get a stoppage of a guy who's never been stopped before. You know, only one loss, and he won 10 of his fights by KO. It's a big result for Jason Quigley.
If you're managing Quigley now, what pace do you want to? Because he's changed, because he's moved countries, because he's got a new trainer, do you slow things down or do you accelerate him through a couple of...
No, I think keep at the pace he's going in terms of fighting these. Maybe in the next, you know, have another fight similar to this, just to get fully rid of the ring rust, and also have time to adapt to training with Dominic Ingle, and then maybe fight a couple of ex-champions, you know, guys who are on the slide, older guys who are just looking to get a payday, you know, who just want to trade in on the name and get it paid to fight an up and coming young fighter, and then see where he's at, because those guys, he'll get invaluable experience fighting those type of fighters, you know, and then maybe step up to contender. So I think carry on like this for a year, fight a couple of, you know, good names towards the end of the year, and then next year look to break into the top 5, top 10 of the world rankings, you know. But he's definitely on the right track. He's got the talent, he has the ability, and as long as he keeps working hard, he can go all the way, Jason.
Does a year out like that in the middle of your career, I mean, it has to focus your mind a bit, and it has to also make you look around and think about things and maybe appreciate a little bit more that this is a very tenuous career.
He said himself how fragile a boxing's career is. So hopefully he's taken stock and realised that, you know, his period of time is short, and that although you don't want to rush things, he has to, you know, make it count, make the days count, and I'm sure it's given him good time to, you know, to take stock and see what's around him, see the other fighters, and see if he wasn't boxing where his life would be, you know, where he would go, and I think he very much wants to stay in boxing after the year out, you know.
Yeah.
It's hard not to see the trajectory still rising, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, and especially with him coming out of the amateurs was such a big name, and coming off a great win like that, I'm just sure he himself will want to push on, but it's down to having a good manager and a good trainer just to say, look, we'll not that he's not able to mix it with the best yet. You know, if he was to spar any of those top champions, Golovkin, Billy Joe, I'm sparring Billy Joe Saunders now, I'm sure he's holding his own, but it's always different in a fight, and when there's fight pressure on. So sometimes you just have to, you know, hold in the reins and just hold him back for a little bit, and then when he's ready, let him loose.
Yeah, okay, so it's about building that up. Well, let's talk a bit about Ryan Burnett before we get to the big boxing story overnight. Burnett at the weekend wins with a broken hand. It's one of those kind of, like, it's a mixed blessing in that you win the fight and you display all the characteristics of a true champion, but you break your hand in a fight. It's like, shit, is that going to happen again?
And cut again, you know. The same cut seems to open just above the eye. He calls it the Harry Potter scar. But look, he didn't take much punishment in the fight. To me, you can always break your hand anytime in any fight, even in training. It can happen. You know, your hand's not made to be punched repeatedly, punching, and especially when you have those small 10-ounce gloves on, it can always happen. So I don't think it's a problem or worry about it reoccurring as long as he has time to let it heal.
Yeah.
He won the fight, and to me, he didn't take a lot of punishment, so that was a good thing. Like, people might have said he wasn't so impressive, but when you consider that he had a broken hand, that puts it into a whole different category, you know, and puts a whole different perspective on the fight. And I thought he boxed a very smart fight, and even the fact that he had a broken hand, he didn't show any signs of having a broken hand during the fight, which is also commendable, you know. And he didn't really look to make excuses during the fight. He was very focused, determined, and thought he was going to win the fight. And to me, he didn't take a lot of punishment, which was, after his last 2 fights, that was important also, because he'd had some wars in his last 2 fights, and he just needed to have one fight where he saw it out, got the win, got the payday, and moved on to the next one, you know, the next bigger fight.
What's the go-to tactic when you have an injury like that?
Try not to show it, which he did well. Don't let your opponent know you have an injury like that. And if it's whatever hand it is, just use the other hand. It's pretty simple.
Stupid question.
But you could punch to the body. If you have to throw it, punch to the body.
Okay.
Don't punch to the head. just punch to the body.
Because there was a sense that he was almost inviting the opponent on a little bit. I saw people on Twitter actually saying, this Ryan Burnett guy is really cocky and stuff, but that wasn't the case at all. It was just kind of like, he needed to invite him in.
And I think he wanted to find some way of trying to still impress without going, extending himself and damaging the hand more. And by inviting the guy in to punch, because the guy was being quite negative, Parejo. So by inviting him in to punch, Ryan could also counter him and then hurt him, maybe have double the impact of a punch. So maybe that was just some tactic. But Ryan, he's in there. He's a little bit of a narcissist, not narcissist, but what can I say? Masochist. He wants to fight. He wants to tear it up. And again, he needs to be protected from himself sometimes as well. And just box smart. And in the end, he did.
And what happens now? Because he's ranked number 2 in the world in super bantamweight. Jamie McDonnell is the number 1. Is that a fight that he has to take at some point sooner?
Yeah, Jamie McDonnell's going to Japan to fight Inoue, the Japanese fighter, and that's a real tough fight for Jamie McDonnell. So the problem is, not the problem is just taking these fights at the right time for Ryan, because he's still only 25 and he's still an improving fighter. To me, he's still learning a game and he's still improving, and with all these fights he'll be gaining valuable experience. If Jamie McDonnell goes to Japan and gets the win, then certainly I would say take the fight with Jamie McDonnell. If Inoue wins, then I would say maybe wait a fight or two, and because I think it'd be very hard to tempt him out of Japan. Yeah. So I would say just wait, build your profile, and maybe they will offer Ryan crazy money to go to Japan and take the fight. So maybe once he has a few more wins, a few more paydays in purses in his bank account, and he can roll the dice and go to Japan.
Are these purses decent at the moment?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Especially, I think that was. I don't know. I couldn't. We don't want to put a figure on it. But I think fighting on Anthony Joshua undercard in front of that many people, pay-per-view, it should have been his best payday.
Okay, so and that's what you want.
I know for a fact he's bought himself a house now. He drives a nice little car, and he seems to be enjoying all the rewards from his hard work.
Yeah, and fair play to him, because that's exactly what
That's we know his backstory, that living homeless for a while and tough times he's had with his father. Yeah, and that's all he really wants, is to secure his future and to be comfortable.
And it's a really difficult career, and you just want to make sure that everybody comes out the other side of it. So Canelo and Triple G ain't going to happen, at least. So just to recap, if anybody missed this, Canelo tries some steak, and the steak, it turns out, well, that's just a bit dodgy, and he fails a test. And everybody's like, wow, how unlucky are you that you had that bit of poisoned steak that tips you over the line and makes you fail a test. And everybody goes, oh, well, that's unfortunate. That's his story anyway, and he's sticking to it for now.
A multi-millionaire and you're fully aware of former fighters and former all athletes in Mexico seem to be testing for this contaminated meat. And
it's unfortunate, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's got a team of about 25 people, Canelo. Surely one of them would have the sense to say, oh, let's just import our steak.
Yeah.
We can afford it, we can go to Carl's Chop House and get the proper steak, so we don't need to go to down the road. But anyway,
apparently it makes the beef way better though, or something like that.
Here's the thing: he's been told, and this is all back channel and off the record, and it's reported that he's been told if he accepts the 1-year ban that's being suggested, they'll knock 6 months off it and backdate it, so he'll be able to fight in August.
Yeah, the tests go back to mid-February, so he'd be available, and so he'd just get back in training.
Like nothing ever happened.
And yeah, everyone just forgets it and sweeps it under the carpet. Like, he's coming out with big statements hoping that his name won't be tarnished and that he's always been a clean fighter. But once you test positive, there'll always be the shadow of doubt, the cloud above you, I think. So no matter where you go, there will always be an asterisk beside your name after that you've tested positive. And I don't know, there's some funny photos, like what they call memes, where you see like a skinny cow and then a big cow like this, and then you see a skinny Canelo at light middleweight, welterweight. Now you see him at middleweight. And I don't know, it's a shame, but it's just so much money involved in this fight, and there's a huge demand for it.
And it's going to happen in the summer.
Even Golovkin, even though he's come out and he's kind of said a few things, he's getting a bit nasty, but he's not fully condemned Canelo, said I won't fight a drug cheat, because he knows himself, he wants the payday himself. There's huge money in this fight. You're talking about,
how much money are you talking about for those guys?
Well, I think there was 27 million split between the two of them after the first fight. So that's huge, you know. And this fight was likely to do more, maybe 35 million between the two of them. And
more, obviously.
That's life changing, you know. Settle down, never have to leave any grandchildren, never have to work again, you know, that kind of stuff. So
and more for Triple G, obviously, because he's the
should be now, and especially with this whole test. It will give him more power in negotiating.
And can I make the case that actually more people will tune into this fight to see the drug cheats?
Probably, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It
adds, But you know, like, there's never really, like, the good guy never really, like, to me, I think so. I think in the rematch, Canelo was the favourite. I think so. And now, like, everyone will be tuning in to see him get beat. You know, he'll be the pantomime bad guy, and he'll go on and win the fight, I think.
So this actually has had a positive impact in many ways for Canelo, in that Triple G has a fight. We don't know who he's going to be against and what level of difficulty.
He's older already. Golovkin had a lot more miles on the clock, and he's going to have a lot more miles on the clock.
Canelo comes back after doing who knows what for 6 months training, and probably wins that fight, and then is the bad guy that everybody wants to see get beaten. And so the next fight after that is also a super fight.
He becomes the Mayweather, the bad guy Mayweather.
Yeah.
So do you only get tested when you're in training? So obviously Canelo isn't in training at the moment, so he won't get tested for the next 6 months?
Yeah, it depends on which, like, he's promoted himself as being a clean athlete, and that he's always used VADA testing, and he's had 90-something tests throughout his career. This has been the only time he's had any fail, but that can, like, you know yourself, the level of sophistication with these tests, and it can always be manipulated in and out of.
Lance Armstrong, you know, of course, famously always said he never failed a test, although he did fail a couple.
So,
and they up, but
yeah, it's only when you're in training camp and you know you have your whereabouts, and I suppose if they're training in Mexico somewhere, they'd be quite hard to reach. You know, they could be quite mobile. I don't know. It's just, to me, the less said about, like, for me, it's my sport, and I hate to hear when this happens. Especially, he's probably he's the highest profile fighter in world boxing. You know, I know Anthony Joshua's big over this side, but he's, in terms of world boxing, Canelo Alvarez is the biggest. And to fail a test, and as I said last week, in a sport like boxing, you're putting someone's life at risk when you're taking PEDs. It's criminal.
Would you have got the fight against Triple G, do you think?
I've had a few tweets saying, Andy, come out of retirement, you should have stayed active. I'm sure you're kicking yourself now. But no, I might have. It's all hypothetical, you know. Who could have been hit by a bus walking on the street? So who knows how I stayed training. But no, I'm happy, and I'm not even tempted or even looking back.
There's no regrets.
Exactly. So I probably would have been in with a shout. It might have been a phone call to say, is he ready? Is he in training? Am I in training? But no, I'm happy with it and not even thinking about that.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Yeah.
So we'll see. There's a few names mentioned, as we've said. Spike O'Sullivan's been mentioned, and also Sergei Devrochenko's been mentioned. So we'll see. Who it depends on. I suppose it depends on Golovkin. Will he look to take an easy fight, or will he look to take a, you know?
Are they all easy fights though in comparison to Canelo? Of course they are, but like, what's the level of difference here?
No, I don't. I think at the top level there'll be some, like, it'll all be wear and tear on your body for Golovkin. Like, there's no ones where he'll walk out there and bang him over in a round. And he'll have to go through, you know, obviously he'll have to go through the punishment of training camp, which he's already doing. But he'll have to go in there and take some shots. But relatively, comparatively, compared to Canelo, they'll be a lot easier.
Right, okay.
Let's move on to a fight this weekend where Dennis Hogan will fight for the WBO Intercontinental Super Welterweight title and the WBO Oriental Super Welterweight title in Australia at the Convention and Exhibition Centre in Brisbane. We can say good morning / good night to you, Dennis Hogan. What time of the world is it where you are?
It's 6:15 here in the evening, so we're just about wrapping it up.
How are you getting on?
Mate, very good, very good. We had the press conference today. Jimmy Kelly and his team are here. Everything's sorted and everything's ready to go. So exciting times ahead.
Dennis, how are you doing? It's Andy Lee.
Andy, how you going, mate?
He's been doing a lot of good to see you. He's been doing a lot of smack talk, Jimmy Kelly, and just tell the people what kind of stuff he's been saying about you, and what do you think about it?
Well, to be honest with you, mate, I thought he was trying to get under my skin, and I thought that was the idea of it. And I even said today at the press conference, mate, he went as quiet as a mouse. He had nothing to say face to face, really. Him or his team, they completely backtracked on everything that was being said. And I gave him the opportunity to speak, and he didn't really. And then it was a little bit confusing, because I was like, I thought you guys were here to move mountains and say all the stuff that they were saying, but they completely quietened up, and they were actually quite humble there and then. So it was a little bit confusing to me, but I think it says a lot in itself. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready to go, and all the talking has all been done, and it just goes to show that those guys were just talking for a bit of bravado. I don't know if they thought they were getting into my head or not, but it certainly didn't work anyway. So maybe they seen that today.
Yeah, some empty. It seemed to me like listening to it, it was kind of empty words and just some ploy just to get under your skin and get you riled up. But you put them in their place today, it seems. And how's this training been going? You've been training in Queensland with one fellow champion Jeff Hawn. How's the training been going? Have you been sparring together? How's the work been?
Really good. So this has been a perfect camp. This is like for the last camp I had a bit of an injury. I missed a good bit of sparring there near the end, but this time we got all the work done. I had 12 weeks. I knew about this fight 12 weeks out. So everything's been great. Myself, as Jeff was training for Terence Crawford, and until that got postponed, we were only within a week of each other. So we got lots of rounds. We were up to sparring 10 rounds with each other and mixing it with other guys as well, and everything was coming together beautifully. Unfortunately for Jeff, obviously the fight got postponed, but it put me in great stead to finish off camp, finish off with other guys coming in fresh for 12 rounds. And I'm ready to go. But there's been a great vibe in the camp. It's been an excellent environment to train in, and the gym is buzzing at the minute. And you'll know yourself, Andy, being in a great gym with a great environment, it just pushes each other. And I've certainly seen that in myself. And I'm just looking forward to just putting it all together now on fight night.
Yeah, certainly. This is a world title. For people who don't know, this is a world title eliminator. So the winner of this fight will fight the winner of Saddam Ali, and the winner versus Liam Smith. You've been to the world once before. You fought for a world title before in 2015 against Jack Kulkai. You just came up short that night. Very close fight. What have you learned from that? That defeat. How can that help you going into this fight?
Well, there's a saying here in Australia, and that's to win a grand final, you got to be in a grand final. And when after that final, the world title, I knew I came away with so much. The main thing being that, I come the 12th round, I was actually still lots of full of energy. I thought midway through, because that fight was postponed, and I thought I definitely was getting fatigued and a little bit burnt out as I kept training. But even though I had fatigued and come back through that, travelling to Germany and back to Australia and back to Germany, I still, at the end of it, I had more to give. And what I learned from that was you can always give 100%. So the main thing that I learned was don't give your opponent an inch ever. Just keep your foot on his throat and just keep going for him. And I've kept that mentality the last couple of fights, and I've just gained more and more and more. So the next time I get in there won't be a second off. It's just constantly foot on the throat and keep that pressure on, because in the gym I've been doing phenomenal work. I've been getting up great work rates, and I've been breaking down a couple of people within 12 round spars when they're coming in fresh. So that's the main thing I've taken away on top of other stuff. So
yeah. And not to look too far ahead or look past Jimmy Kelly, out of Ali and Smith, how do you see that fight going? And would you have a preference of fighting one of them if you were to fight one of them?
I did originally fancy fighting Liam Smith anyway, because I think his footwork, I think I could completely outwork him with footwork and beat him with that alone. But he's got lots of great attributes too. Saddam Ali, I didn't see his fight with Cotto, but I did see him fighting in the Barclays Centre in New York one time, and I didn't think that much either. To be honest with you, I still would rather Liam Smith. I would rather that fight, and I do hope Liam comes through with that. And I think it'd be easier to make a deal with Liam Smith anyway. We were already in talks with him a little bit anyway, so that's the way I see it. Look, Saddam Ali, he's done very well to beat Cotto, I think. And I don't know what mentality Cotto came in with, knowing it was his last fight and not winning, but certainly says a lot about Ali, and obviously Liam's been champion before, so either way, to be honest with you, I take either one of them anyway. I have no problem fighting either one, but probably Liam, I suppose.
Dennis, how did you end up in Brisbane?
Originally, boxed on an Irish team out in Australia, and I was just I was actually on a pro-am show, and the coach, one of the coaches there said, "Look, if you ever want to fight professionally, come back around here and we'll get you set up and whatever else." So back in Ireland, when it was time for me to go professional, I felt there was nothing happening. Recession had hit, there was no shows, and I said I'd come out here and get a fight. I had a little bit of an offer in Boston, and I said I might work my way back around, but I knew it was coming close to the end of the year, and I knew I could get a start for St. Patrick's Day. So I came out to Brisbane, and did get my start then early in 2011, and just from then I built some great relationships, and here I still am 7 years later. So
it's funny, like 33 is an age where a lot of boxers are considered to be, you know, probably less now, but certainly a decade ago people would have said 33 is the wrong side. At the moment it seems like 33 isn't the worst age to be when it comes to just having the ring craft and the experience. But are you a little bit behind maybe where you thought you would be when you were starting out as a pro?
I certainly could have taken bigger leaps, I believe. But it wasn't to be. My management at the time made all the decisions, and I rolled along with it. And maybe I believed that I might have been a little bit of a cash cow under the situation I was in. But I'm kind of under my own stuff now. I'm with DDP Promotions, and we've got a great team here, got a great coach here now, and we're just looking to fight world-rated fighters and get to the world title. So once you put your intent in what you want, you work towards it. It's sort of come together, and here I am now fighting my second world-rated fighter in a row. So with all that behind me, I'm just thinking about going forward and winning a world title and going forward. But at 33, to be honest with you, I've never been this fit in my whole life. I didn't like. If you look at Andy, I suppose I remember Andy always being up there with Irish boxing in the amateurs and at the Olympics and that. I didn't go that hard at it at that younger age, and I kind of went harder at it now the last couple of years. So I still kind of feel fresh, to be honest with you, and I still think I've got 3 or 4 of my best years still left in me. So I don't know. I just roll with that anyway. I'm still feeling good and enjoying it.
You mentioned your coach, Glenn Rushton. What kind of coach is he, and how does he compare to other coaches you would have worked with?
To be honest with you, mate, Glenn's come from a martial arts background, and it's just it's a different mentality from what I've seen in boxing gyms before. But there's a lot of mentoring going on as well as just the work, you know, working on certain drills, and like it's not just work till you get it right. It's work till you don't get it wrong. You know what I mean? And that's the sort of stuff we've adapted here. The mentality, the psychology of it, it's all science-based stuff. This is the way we look at it, and I've had something here that I haven't seen before in any other with any other gym, and that's that I feel like I can see stuff happening on a weekly basis. I can see myself getting better at stuff at a very fast rate, and it just excites me so much and gives me so much confidence that you keep coming back for more. And once I started in this gym January last year, I really just spent so much time up here. It's like a second home, to be honest.
Do you see yourself staying in Australia? Like it's obviously worked out for you. The lifestyle clearly suits you. The opportunities are right there. Or is a move back to this part of the world in your future, no matter what happens? What's the story? What do you think?
Man, I love it in Australia, and for the foreseeable future, I'm here to stay. My goal was always to win a world title and come back and defend it in the Tree Arena in Dublin, and that was my goal leaving Ireland, and I still have that in my head, and that's the plan. But I do love it here in Australia. I've built a life for myself here. I have an Australian daughter, and mate, the people here are lovely, and I've settled right in. So, yeah, for now I'm happy.
Dennis, having your first daughter, congratulations, 6-month-old. How has that affected you? Do you think it's affected you? Are you using that to motivate yourself, or how has that affected you in terms of just practicality and training and getting time to go to the gym, and your mindset? How has that affected your mindset going into a fight?
To be honest with you, I've got so much motivation already, and then when this girl came along, I didn't even notice it. It's like I have more energy. Something's come over me that I've been able to put more in, and I didn't even think that more was there to begin with. So it's definitely come over me. I just I don't know. In training camp, you know how stringent those things are and stuff. But having a daughter to come home to every night, it just makes it a lot more. I don't know. It just fits. It feels right. It feels good, and it gives me more motivation and energy to come in every day and give more. When you think about setting her up for life and giving her a good future, but not just that, just for her to see that her dad, stopped at nothing to achieve his goals, and that I think is going to be a valuable lesson, and that's what I want to provide for her. So.
For people who don't know, Dennis is probably one of the hardest working boxers. He's got a reputation for being so to say you have even more energy, I mean something. Dennis, your fight is being streamed all over the world. Is it Epicenter TV? Is that where people can watch it? Where can people log on to watch it live?
Epicenter TV. All you have to do is go on, just log on, and it's all there for you. You'll see it. It's easy to use, free all around the world, and it's great exposure. Yeah.
We'll tweet a link to it as well. Listen, best of luck, man. Knock him out this weekend.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate your
time. All the best, Dennis.
Thanks.
It's some story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great story. As he said himself, he was never really a heralded amateur, but I didn't want to mention there, but he spoke about, before he would have been quite fond of having a drink or two when he was younger, and when he was training, as an amateur, he wouldn't have been fully focused. As an amateur, he fought as a light heavyweight. He fought Kenneth Egan a few times, and now he's fighting as a light middleweight as a 33-year-old.
Yeah.
And I think that just goes to show you the change. Yeah, you can see he's in fight shape. He shows you the change in his lifestyle and his mentality, and kind of rededication or a new dedication really into boxing, and he's reaping the benefits. And this is a very winnable fight for him against Jimmy Kelly.
Is it? Yeah.
On paper, it's 50-50, and you probably have some tough moments in there, but it's a very winnable fight for him, and he'll be the #1 contender then in the world.
It's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great story to go over there and to make a life. It's the traditional immigrant story, isn't it? You leave Ireland and with a dream and a bag on your back, and you go out to make
fresh.
it. Yeah, and you try to make it whatever country where traditionally was America, but now it seems Australia and other places.
It's a great endorsement for him that somebody like Jeff Horn has taken him under his wing to a certain extent, and they're sparring partners.
Yeah, well, only up to recently, Jeff Horn would have been a similar type of level. Dennis Hogan would have been a higher profile fighter than Jeff Horn, just that he kind of got that fight with Pacquiao and kind of took his chance. Yeah. Interested in the trainer, Jeff Rushton, because just seeing a few clips of him, he speaks about the mental approach and how they're improving and the kind of work they do. So it was interesting to hear that he comes from a martial arts background, and that it's probably bringing a different perspective, something that, a fresh approach that Dennis wouldn't have seen, or been sick of looking at the same thing for many years and hearing the same things for many years.
All right, Andy, stay with us because we're going to talk golf briefly. Nathan is on the line to tell us about the off-the-ball golf day, which is happening at Luttrellstown Castle today. Nathan, good morning to you.
How are you?
Are you? You got your hair cut and all for it?
You got to make an effort for the friends of the pod.
Yeah. So what's happening today?
Well, hopefully golf. I don't know if you've looked out the window this morning. It's not particularly nice out, but I'm assured the course at Luttrellstown is going to be good to go by 1 o'clock. So.
Well, when we were all coming in at 6, it had been raining all night, Nathan, but we've been locked in our studio creating content ever since. So, I mean, actually, Andy came in. It was a bit wet, was it?
It was still raining, yeah. Pelting down.
Are you going to play in the rain, Ger?
Are you playing golf today?
I'm not playing golf, no. No. I wouldn't play on the best of days, so I don't know about on a rainy day.
Fair enough. No, I'm sick, Nathan. I woke up this morning and my left eye was crusted closed, so not really sure that the best course of action for me is to play golf. The reason you're there tonight is...
That is disgusting.
Really unnecessary.
The reason that you're there tonight is obviously that the Masters is upon us. Who are your 3 Masters picks in our off-the-ball Masters pool?
My 3 tips are Jordan Spieth, because he is quite simply the best player around Augusta. It's his 5th appearance. He's contended in the previous 4, and I know he's had a slow start, but he looked somewhat back to his best last weekend. I think he's going to win. Jason Day, who is also among the leaders in the betting. He's already won at Torrey Pines this year, kind of playing a different schedule, not playing that often. He's always moaning about being sick, been injured. But generally at the majors, he turns up. He's gone close before. And the other one, my outsider, to bring it up to 100-1, Bryson DeChambeau, who's seen as a bit of a mad scientist. He's at about 80-1. He's played here once before, did all right. Not sure he's going to win, but he might contend.
Everybody in the office has Bryson DeChambeau. That's why I ended up going with Charles Schwartzel. I mean, I realise he's been injured this year and hasn't played very well, but he was 3rd last year.
He's won before, so...
Yeah.
it is very much a horses for courses type place.
Yeah. Shane Finnegan wants to know, is KJ Choi playing this year?
I don't think so, no. I haven't seen or heard from KJ Choi in many years.
Wonder that there's a piece in that. Whatever happened to KJ Choi? Just on Tiger quickly, Nathan. Just because there was one of the lines that stuck out to me yesterday was in terms of his own view of this hype, and he says, "No, the hype isn't at peak Tiger just yet. The hype around Tiger was at its peak between the USPGA in 2000 and the Masters in 2001. He said there was a 9-month build-up to that Masters that was unlike nothing he's ever seen or that he will ever see again." Like, I know you're a young man, Nathan, but I'm not sure if you recall 2001. Was the build-up just as big as it was for this year?
You see, I don't overly remember just how big it was, but you just have to look at what it's been like for the last few weeks, and everybody who does and everyone was around then says it was at another level to where it is now. And I think he's probably right, because if he was to win this week, or if he even goes very, very close, it's going to step up again for the US Open and for the Open as the summer goes on. You got to remember the level of dominance he was at back then, winning over 10 tournaments a year. We just don't see that. We've never seen that from anybody since. So if he's saying that, it's clearly true. I do wonder maybe mentally if he's as prepared to deal with that right now as he was 15, 16 years ago when he was at the peak of his powers. And that's the one thing. Listen, Tiger's game is back. He's rightfully among the contenders. I do just wonder still, if he gets into contention, what's his head going to be like with everything that's happened over the last decade? How is he going to feel as he's going down the back nine? Now, in his practice round with Phil Mickelson yesterday, which is a story in itself, he had 2 eagles over the course of his 18 holes. So clearly Augusta, yet again, fitting his eye. But it's, as I said a couple of weeks ago, it's going to be the sporting event of the year if Tiger's in contention on Sunday evening.
What about Rory?
Rory, I have a feeling we could be sitting here Monday morning going, clearly Rory was always going to win this tournament. He won 3 weeks ago. He had his break. Everything was set up with winning Augusta. You have to remember, if he wins, like, it's the career Grand Slam. It brings him onto a whole new level into what he's achieved during his career. He's proven before he can play the course. I just wonder with Rory, is something afterwards he's going to be talking about it and saying, actually, it just didn't feel right about this. But he's finished top 10 the last 3 years, albeit without ever really contending. You just want him to start well, put himself in the mix heading into the weekend, because for the last couple of years, he started too slowly. When there's really been nothing at stake on the Saturday, Sunday, he'll go out and play a brilliant round. You just want to see how he will cope with Augusta when he's under a bit of pressure, which he needs to be heading in Saturday, Sunday.
Your tip is really Jordan Spieth, though, after all that, all is said and done. It's not Tiger and his 2 eagles, it's not Rory, and yeah, we're looking back wise after the event. You think Jordan Spieth's actually going to win this thing?
I still think he is comfortably the best player around Augusta right now. Remember, first 3 years he led after 54 holes. Last year he was only 2 shots off the lead. Every single time, no matter what state his game is in, he can get himself into contention at Augusta. His putting hasn't been anywhere near where it's been over the last 3-4 years at the start of the year. But he finished 3rd last week. So it seems as though something has changed. And again, there's so much build-up, so much talk. You generally find when it gets to the majors, the best players find something in their game to put themselves in contention. But what's going to be so great is, you look how tight it is at the top of the betting. If you get any 2 of that top 9 or 10 in the mix on Sunday, it's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, so long as not another Charles Schwartz will come from nowhere to win it.
No, I fear Charlie Hoffman is going to win this by like 4 shots.
Yeah, that'd be grim. Okay, so you're off to polish your clubs and get some practice. Jesus. What's on the show tonight, Nathan?
Well, we're coming live from Luchastan Castle Golf Club, Ger. We're going to have a full-on Masters preview. Peter Lowry's there, Damien McGrain. We're going to have Des Smith along as well, a couple of special guests also. And obviously we'll be talking Liverpool Man City over the evening as well.
All right, good stuff. Enjoy the golf and don't
Cheers,
lose too many balls.
Mind the eye.
Andy, great stuff. Thanks very much for joining us in the studio and sitting through that. Sorry for inflicting it on you. And to everybody who stuck with us, then well done to you guys out there too. Sounds like it's going to be a good show on the radio tonight. We'll be back tomorrow at around about 7:30, 7:45. Until then, good luck.
OTB AM. In association with Air. Get Air Sport free with Air Broadband.